I want to call the March 6, 2019 Hamilton County Council meeting to order. We'll start off by having a roll call.
Brad Beaver.
Here.
Rick McKinney.
Here.
Amy Masalamani.
Present.
Ken Alexander.
Present.
Steve Swartz.
Present.
Jeff Hearn.
Here.
Fred Glenn.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
You. Now we'll have a invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Ken Alexander.
Please rise if you are able. Bow our heads. Lord, thank you for providing this day. Thank you for our families, our employers, our co-workers who support us and allow us the time and energy to serve our great community. Thank you, God, for your faith in us to do the good work we were elected to perform. Please grant us the strength to perform each task with patience, diligence, and to the best of our abilities. May we serve with integrity, speak with clarity, and understand our roles and purpose as we contribute worthily. Help us handle the challenges as you work in us and through us.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The auditor's going to pass around a sign-in sheet. Anybody that's here, please sign the sheet so we can keep track of who was in the audience tonight. All right, let's start with the approval of the minutes of the February 6th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Now it's time for public comments. Anybody who's here from the public who's not on our agenda but wants to speak to the county council, now's the time. Seeing nobody rising, we're going to go ahead. We're going to go to officer and committee reports. We'll start off with the president's report, and I have I attended a meeting. The county council members got an email from our representative Bill Smythe, but I attended a meeting with board members and management of Tourism Visitors Bureau about their wanting to move to a bigger facility. And we had a couple hour discussion, and they laid it all out, what they wanted to do and what the options were. And I won't go into all that, but it comes down to this. There are actually in my mind, there were two questions, and I told the people from the Visitors Bureau I would bring it up under the president's part. Two questions so they can move forward. Number one, lease or buy. They want to move from their building into a 10,000 square foot building for their employees and future expansion. So one question is leasing or buying. And the second question in my mind, this is my mind, I didn't represent this as a county council, was why are you in the most expensive real estate in Hamilton County, which is downtown Carmel? And it was explained to me that they had put out feelers and requests from all communities that had substantial visitor type, Westfield, Carmel, Noblesville, Fishers, that had some attraction, and that they got not much of any response except from Carmel as far as locating their 10,000. They didn't have it available to be moved into tomorrow, nor was there a developer that was wanting to build it for them. And they have a developer who is ready to build them a building or part of a building in Carmel, right downtown, right by City Hall. And so that was their answer to why in Carmel. And the other question is buy or lease. I was of the opinion that leasing would be a better idea, and their explanation was on a year-to-year, month-to-month basis that them signing a contract and buying a building would be less expensive to their group than leasing a building. So with that, I want to go down the line with the counselors. You give us your input on what you think. Buy or lease, is Carmel okay? Any thoughts you have on that? Now, understand they have their own hierarchy and their own administration. They can do whatever they want to do. This is just kind of a blessing from the Hamilton County Council because we control the tax rate, which funds all their. Jeff, you got any thoughts on this?
My thought is based on, I guess, limited information, not looking at the financials myself. I'd probably put it in the hands of their board
Okay.
to do what they think is probably best. I do know that owning versus leasing in the private sector is a better way to go if you've got the cash and you got the ability to do that. I would prefer that they would be in more of a central location like a Noblesville, yet I don't know if that is, how much that really matters.
I just want to say they had a lengthy explanation as to why.
Okay. Yeah, and at this point in time, with the little amount of information I do, I would trust what Brenda and what that board's doing.
Okay. Amy?
I would be a fan of buying over leasing, just based on the cost benefit analysis over time. I'm comfortable if Carmel is the spot.
Okay with you? Rick McKinney?
My preference probably be for leasing, just from the standpoint that they bought now, and it's just, now they have to turn around and they have to try to sell it. And I'm not sure how much they made, quote, made on the building, because for a while, I thought they were upside down. But
It's paid for now.
now it's paid for.
Yeah.
So I would go that way, just so they weren't tied or hamstrung. And I would say stay in Carmel, but try to find less expensive than top of the line. That's all.
Rick Glenn?
My same thought was the building being underwater, but if it's paid for, the only thing I would say is, when's the building going to be sold? If they sold the building, then I would say,
Their intention is to sell the building they're in to put that money towards the new building.
if that's the case, I would honestly, I would have to look at the full situation, what they would have to pay to lease, but I mean, that's their job to do that. If the building gets sold, I would say it's up to them at that point. As long as they get the current real estate sold, I don't have any issue with what they do.
Steve Swartz?
I'm very comfortable with the board that's been put in place, and I feel very comfortable with the decision that they will make. They live in this industry. They're the ones that attend the monthly meetings. They're comfortable. I'm sure they have done all their homework. I'm good with whatever decision they make.
Ken Alexander?
I had a follow-up meeting and arrived at the same conclusions most of you, which is that the board is put in place to make these decisions, and that they're making the right financial decision. And having seen the information and also understanding that marketplace a little bit in my industry, it doesn't shock me that leasing is more expensive than owning in that capacity. I would support that moving forward.
Okay.
What board makes that decision, just out of curiosity?
It's the Visitors and Tourism Board or Commission? One or the other. They got a commission and they're two layers.
I'm still trying to get a grip on which board will make that decision.
All right, so hearing what all my.
It's right there.
Wait a minute. Brenda, you can come on up here if you want to. You can. But I would say that, hearing from everybody here, I expressed to you when I was at the meeting that my personal preference was leasing over buying. You made a convincing story for the buying over the leasing. My only hesitation was, like me and Rick went through the whole title thing 20 years ago. I don't want to go through it again, but that's just a personal thing. I think you have got a indication from this body that if you want to buy and you want to buy in downtown Carmel, there isn't anybody that's going to throw a fit about it.
Thank you. Just to clarify, we would like all four agencies, the county commissioners, which would obviously have to release the real estate, you as the fiduciary agents, because the building is in your name, and we would have to go through that process. The Tourism Commission, which is our contracting body, we would never do anything to go against their grain and our board. So those two tourism entities are in line with buying versus leasing, as long as they feel like it's not going to put a hindrance on our budget. And we've forecast out that it will not. So it's really up to you and the commissioners.
I do have a question for you, Brenda. In the past, the deed was to the county commissioners, correct? I would hope that would, on the new building, be done the same way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It should be. It's for a number of reasons, but absolutely.
Okay, just double checking.
Is that what you needed, Brenda?
Thank you, sir. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Vice President's report.
I will piggyback on what you said. We also had a tourism destination meeting that we, the representatives of the council, and met with Brenda and some of her other people and appointments, and talked about the tourism destination grants that they're looking to reestablish. And so we had one meeting, we'll have another one in another couple months, but just to let you know that we started that process of reviewing around the county different situations where tourism dollars could make an impact on local organizations.
Me and Rick both attended that meeting, and they broke down their big chunks of money, where they might be spending it. They had several items on the agenda of what they might want to do in the coming year, and kind of rated them as to what we personally felt was a high priority and lower, and we're going to have another meeting kind of flush it out as to, so that we don't come up with big surprises.
Right. The other item I was just going to mention, and I believe all of us received a copy from the Health Department, their annual report last year, and I just wanted to take a second and recognize the Hamilton County Health Department, which is led by Barry McNulty. A lot of times we talk about how Hamilton County is a great place to live, and that's due to the parks, the roads, economic development, and I think one area that may be overlooked is the role the Health Department plays. And reading this report, you see how what they do is vital in so many ways, like West Nile virus control with the mosquitoes, providing low-cost vaccines. Big thing for me is probably the restaurant inspections, because I eat out a lot, my family does, and I think that we can't maybe take it for granted or maybe thank them enough for the things they do in, say, the little under-noticed areas. So just want to give that praise to Barry and his people.
I'd just like to add, I agree with that. I mean, it's another thing that I didn't realize that they do, it hit upon me about a year ago when I was in there working with them, that all the swimming pools in this area that our kids swim in, or even in the health clubs where we work out in, are gone through by the health department also and managed. So there's a lot of little things that they do that we just don't even realize until something would go bad, that what they do. And I appreciate everything that they do.
Anything
That's
else,
it.
Rick?
Nope, thank you.
Okay. Highway Committee,
We did not meet.
Finance Committee did not meet. Personnel,
We had a poll, and it's on the agenda.
polls on the agenda. Anybody got miscellaneous for the good of the council? No? Okay. We'll go to unfinished. I don't see anything there. Tabled business. I don't see anything there. So we'll go to new business. And what we need next is an approval of vendor claims.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Vendor claims passes. The next B is a resolution CC 030619-01, a resolution of the Hamilton County Council regarding procedural rules, sponsorship from additional appropriations.
Motion to approve?
What is this?
There's a discussion. Chris, you want to give us just a brief, what is it, what does this
I
address?
think last meeting, you guys had asked, I think at the auditor's request, to alter your rules so that she didn't need a sponsorship for grant requests, basically.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Remember
okay.
that?
Yeah, I
So
do.
So going forward, if it is money being spent out of a grant that we've already approved, they don't have to ask for sponsorship.
It'll just show up on the agenda, even if it doesn't have a sponsor. Right?
Be
That's
clear-
what we
and-
did, right? Yeah.
And to be clear, that if it doesn't show, if it's not on the agenda with a sponsor, then it's to be assumed that that is the case.
That would be an additional appropriation.
All be in one spot.
All be in one paragraph? Yes. Okay. Everybody got that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. C is appropriation of grant reimbursements. The first one is the FHWA reimbursement for $465,970.
So moved for the session.
Second,
Moved in second. What is FHWA?
Federal Highway
Okay,
Really?
Administration.
okay, so it's highway grants we've already approved.
Right. Well,
Okay,
and this is, one's reimbursing TIF and one's reimbursing motor vehicle highway.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. D, Ollie's here, he's requesting new positions for court commissioner and court reporter. Ollie, you want to come up here and make the pitch?
Good evening. I think this is fairly straightforward and no great surprise. We have for a long time now the weighted caseload, which is the state standard for kind of determining the workload of judges across the state. We have typically been in the range of 12 to 13, and we only have 10 judicial officers, 7 judges and 3 magistrates. But also aware of the fact that the annex to this building is not apparently going to be built for a while yet, and we don't have any room in this building to put additional courts. And so we are still looking for some relief for the workload that the judges are under. As some of you are aware, we had at one time 2 full-time commissioners who subsequently became magistrates. What I would like to do here, what I'm proposing, is that we create the position of another full-time commissioner and a court reporter to go with that commissioner. The space for this, we would put them in courtroom 7, which is Magistrate Murphy's courtroom, and there's some administrative space back there that we could reconfigure to provide an office space for a commissioner and a court reporter. And that once we had this commissioner in place, then we would take the steps necessary to go to the General Assembly and ask for another magistrate position. And just to refresh your memory, a commissioner is paid for by the county, but a magistrate is paid for by the state. And that's the reason for subsequently asking the state to create another magistrate position for the county. So that is sort of the short and sweet of what this is about.
Let's just start it. Jeff, you got questions?
Not right now.
Amy? Rick?
I'll ask, I could ask 10 different questions. The first one is, why not make the request to the legislature for the new judges?
Because it'll take probably at least 2 years before that gets acted on.
Okay,
I mean, we will initiate that request.
right? But that 2 years is going to keep going farther in the future if you don't start it now.
No, I am saying we will start it now.
Are you saying judge or are you saying magistrate?
Magistrate.
I'm saying judge. I'm saying a judge.
Well, the problem, Rick, the problem with the judge is if the legislature approves it, we don't have any place to put a judge.
How about the old historic courtroom?
That will not work. It can't be modified. The acoustics in there are terrible. We have to have a digital recording of all court proceedings, and it's almost impossible to get a recording in that courtroom. That's why we don't use it now.
I'll hold off my other questions.
Okay, Fred?
Can someone refresh my memory here? Did we discuss this when we were supposed to request positions during budget hearings? Was this discussed? Was this requested?
No, this is a mid-year request.
And we were specifically supposed to discuss these types of things in budget hearings, or am I wrong?
Normally when we add new people.
Okay, that's all I got.
I got a couple questions. When was the last time you had a request for a new position?
would probably have been in connection with the pretrial release program.
What year was that, do you know?
And last year, wasn't it?
2 years ago? 2 years ago?
The other question I have, courtroom 7, that's magistrate court, correct? But that's not used through the day, is it?
Is that courtroom used all day?
No, I said through the day.
Yes. All the initial hearings are there in the afternoon, and Magistrate Murphy, as all of the magistrate, works for the other judges, and so in the morning, he's doing work hearings for one of the other courts
In 7?
in courtroom
So
7.
there's absolutely no vacancies in any of the courts?
There are from time to time vacancies, and with a commissioner, what we would do is the courtroom space for that commissioner would be based upon what court that commissioner was working for at that day. So that commissioner might be in more than one court during the course of a day, courtroom.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank
And
you.
Alexander.
I've read your letter here. The idea of adding these people is not to wait for a magistrate or a judge to come forward. They have work that they could be working on to lighten the load and the length of time that people are waiting for to be heard. Is that correct?
That's correct. The need is immediate, and the most immediate way to address the need would be through a full-time commissioner.
So this would be have an immediate use right now, and moving forward could be further improved with the addition of a magistrate and a judge as Councilman McKim.
Can I ask a question regarding the sound, or the concerns, I guess, from a sound perspective in the old courthouse? Would you be willing, because I know that we're looking at the sound in other courtrooms here, would you be opposed to having an expert, since I'm clearly not a sound expert?
No, I'm not opposed to anything, but there are multiple problems with the courtroom in the old courthouse.
Sure.
And aside from the sound, the next biggest problem is that of security.
Right.
It would be almost impossible to conduct criminal proceedings in that courtroom because there is no security.
Obviously add security. I mean, we could add security.
Require additional personnel, but.
Sure, right.
And
many empty
and it
courts
would
we have?
also require us to go back to the days when inmates are brought in with, in sight of the public,
Sure, I understand.
that have to be walked into the courtroom from outside.
I have a question. Ollie, could you tell me what the fallout's going to be if this isn't granted?
The fallout is just going to be that the judges are going to continue to have to grind it out. I mean, that's the bottom line.
I wouldn't have said anything before, I was gonna let everybody talk, but I'm not real in favor of this. I'll just tell you, because I haven't heard that there is gonna be any fallout. Matter of fact, I've had nobody really tell me that this is really needed. I've had no phone calls saying it's needed. I've had nobody talk to me in hallways, in my office, anything that's saying that this is needed versus other positions that we've had come up before us in the last year, 2 years, whatever it might be. So I've not seen, and even just reading through this, I mean, a lot of people can write things up. I just haven't been proven that this is something that I would vote for.
I just would like to comment, and nothing bad about that, but I was upstairs tonight for night court. There's no place to sit. I don't know if you ever go to night court up there, or, I'm sorry for a better word, but maybe it's Spanish night court.
Hispanic.
Hispanic, thank you, that's the word I was looking for. There's so many people in the hallway, it's overloaded, so I do see a potential problem. I just would like to hear more about the demand that you actually have in numbers, so I could sit and look at it.
I can
get a
do
better
that.
breakdown.
And the only comment I would make to that is that you probably don't hear from the citizens, because when they're told that their court date is going to be 6 months from now or 12 months from now, they have no idea what the standard is. But I can guarantee you that if it was you or a member of your family, and you had a matter which you thought was of some urgency and would like to get resolved fairly quickly, and the court told you that it was going to be 12 or 18 months before they could get you on their calendar to hear it, I think you might not be satisfied with that.
I'd say this, the act of a speedy trial, I'd love it to be done in a week, 2 weeks, but that doesn't seem to be happening at the federal level, doesn't seem to be happening at the state level, and our legislators certainly haven't given us judges to increase some of this. So it's not just citizens, but people three floors up, if they're bailiffs, whoever it might be. I haven't heard from anybody on a phone call, an email, anything, hallway conversation saying to me, hey, we really could use some help up here. So based on that, I have one letter stating that there's a need. I don't have anybody else asking.
It's been an ongoing discussion over the course of the last 4 years. I mean, there's been.
Okay, they just haven't come to me.
Right.
They haven't come to me.
I want to chime in here and we'll kind of take a vote here in just a minute to see how we're going. My main concern, I don't try to tell you I understand completely what your load is and whatnot, but we do have to deal with all the departments in the county, and coming in mid-year asking for people is not the way we like to do it. We like to know what the people are needs at budget time so that we can go through. If we start adding bodies to our payroll because somebody's got a need, and pretty soon you're just adding bodies every couple of meetings, and you don't have a real control on the total number of full-time employees that the county's going to have. That being said, let's go, anybody else got anything else that hadn't been said before?
I do want to, mention the fact that what he said, just kind of emphasize that the state has not awarded us a new court.
We haven't asked for a new court.
The point is, we don't have, that's part of it too. Okay, and the budget hearings thing, since I've been here every year, we've said, if you've got any new positions, we need to see them in budget hearings, and we're in the first quarter right now, so.
Steve Swartz.
Yeah, I'm a numbers guy, and I'm not pro or against yet. I'd really like to see the numbers and how they break down and get more information than this page-and-a-half document. Nothing wrong with this, I would just like more numbers before we commit to 2 people. That's what I would really like to see, and at this point, I would probably make a motion to table.
I'll second it.
There's been a motion to table, that supersedes everything else. All in favor to the tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This particular issue is tabled.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, let's go on to E, which is Resolution CC 030619-02, a resolution approving additional expenses to be paid from the Hamilton County Jail commissary funds. This is a resolution for commissary funds. Sheriff, you want to hold forth on this?
Yeah, absolutely. IC 36-8-10-21 outlines what the sheriff's commissary fund could be used for. There are 9 different items listed. The last one is any purpose that benefits the sheriff's department mutually agreed upon between the county fiscal body and the sheriff. We're not asking to do anything different than we have always done, but being a newly elected sheriff, I wanted to make sure we were on the same page as to what we were spending those funds for.
Okay, and it's in black and white what you might spend those for, so everybody's aware.
General categories of this is what we spend on.
Any discussion here?
Well, I'd make a motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes, Sheriff. Thank you. Next resolution, CC 030619-03, resolution concerning the purchase of real estate for the Highway 37, 146th Street interchange. Rick McKinney, you want to give us a quick rundown on what this is?
Yes, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
So that we'll have discussion?
Yes. The long and short of it is that the Highway Department is asking for the resolution just to keep everything clear and concise, even though most of these parcels listed are going to go to State Road 37, which will ultimately be transferred to the state. 2 parcels are near 146 in Harriman. Those will stay with the county. But because we have the procedure, the protocol, the legal need, anything over 25,000 we need to approve. They wanted to have us do it, even though Fishers has the lead on the project.
Okay, so the way I understand it, other than a couple of small parcels by Harriman, these purchases, when they're done, will be purchased with the money that is already designated for the 37 project.
Right. Well, all of them will be done with the project money, according to Brad Davis today. Only 2 will stay in our inventory,
Okay.
the rest will go to the
Does everybody
state.
understand that the money we've already dedicated for the Highway 30, that's where the funding source for these land acquisitions will be? Yeah. Okay, everybody clear?
Rick, I got a question for you on that, if you don't mind. Typically on these road projects, there's residual land after it's done that is then sold back to neighboring parcels and things of that nature. Has there been discussion with NDOT that you know of where that money is going to go back to offset county expenses and support of the project?
And I haven't heard anything about that on this particular project.
It'll be like years.
Right,
away.
and I know other projects, when it's happened, the commissioners have usually handled it, and they're like slivers of land,
Yeah.
and developers, people pay pennies. Joel's here. I didn't think he was coming back from road school, Joe. Joel?
Welcome back.
So, you want to?
Yeah, at this time, we're just beginning appraisals. Typically, we just buy what's needed.
Yep.
But then you come to a parcel that you may damage it to the point that you buy the entire parcel. I don't know that I can answer that. I'm assuming, since we're purchasing it with our money, we as the team, the local team of 37, that we would have an interest in the rest of that land to either be sold or used for whatever reason we deems necessary.
Like Councilor McKinney said, it's probably going to be pennies, but I just want to make sure that we have we're in the controlling interest in that.
Commissioners will be, yeah.
County is what I'm referring to, all our friends.
Anybody have any more questions about this particular issue?
I do have one. The properties that are listed, parcel 73 through parcel 131, on the sheet that we have, I don't know if you have that in front of you.
Yes, sir.
Are each of those $25,000 and over, or is there a mix within this?
We're assuming that each one of those parcels has a good possibility of being $25,000 or over.
You don't know what those prices are.
We do not. It's being appraised currently. Typically, when we come before you on a project like this, we'll kind of do our best guess of if we think it's 25 or greater. We try to be a little conservative so we don't have to come back, or we're not sitting there waiting if we missed a parcel, so. But most of these are a little unique in that they're all out on 37 and they're all very valuable, so.
Okay.
But you're saying 37 and 146th Street interchange, that's what you're talking about, is mainly our area there.
Yes.
Anybody else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
Gina Randall, the 2019 WIS compensation study. Yeah.
Wagner, Irwin, Shealy, and Associates have comprised the recommendations for the 2020 budget. And these recommendations that you've received in your packet will address the pay grids for prosecuting attorneys, our COMET classification, which includes clerical, office management staff, technicians, the LTC classification for labor, trades, and crafts, the civilian and merit poll. They are still finalizing the pay grid recommendations for Pat and exec, and when they are finished, I will be forwarding that information to you with hope at your April meeting we can have a work session and sit down and kind of crunch numbers. As far as the external data, the memorandum on page 1 and 2 identify the entities and the outside companies that they collected the data for, and it gives the percent and increase for each of those job categories. In looking at the 2020 pay budget, They're hoping that this external analysis would be used as a guideline in determining wage increases for the following year and as a measure to compare for competitiveness of compensation for county employees for the external market. So we'll give you some time to look over these numbers, and we will meet with you at your April meeting.
All right, if, we will plan on a work session, Don and Robin. If that study is not done, contact me and we'll cancel the work session.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll just plan on it's gonna be done.
Work session start at 6?
How much time you need?
Well, I'm hoping that it will be done, and I'll have those numbers to you long before your packets are out for the April meeting, so.
How much time do you need in the work session?
Oh, I'm sorry, how much time? Probably
plan
at
for an
least
hour.
an hour, I'm guessing.
6
More
o'clock.
than that.
Hey, thanks, Sheena.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sheena.
Okay, now we're going to open the public hearing concerning additional appropriations. The first is an auditor has a transfer for $200.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. The commissioners have a 144 amendment, an additional appropriation of $35,394. Now, this is something that we already approved in the January meeting. Right?
Yes.
Okay,
The 144 amendment, you already approved that, but I forgot to change the appropriation numbers, so that's all that's changing on this 144.
okay.
And then the additional, and the item 2 and 3 are the monetary changes for those.
Okay, so let's have a vote on 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and now I need a motion for number 4, which is a transfer of $8,000.
So moved.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Now we'll go to court administration. They have a 144 amendment. Now, is the 144 amendment something that was already, okay, it was already approved by the council in the January meeting. So I need a motion on 1 and 2, which is the 144 and the additional appropriation.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Then I need a motion for a transfer for court administration of $76,561.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the next we have is an additional appropriation. It has my name beside it. It is for Steve, you here? Steve called me about this, and I told him I would sponsor this. The long and the short of it is the additional jail pod that we built. Half of it's got jail cells in it, half of it doesn't. The part that doesn't have the jail cells in it was a gravel floor. This amount of money would put concrete on that so that it's concrete floor instead of gravel. We had a discussion about having the plumbing and the conduit in. It is. That's what this is for. Steve, do you want to add anything to that?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Moving second, discussion, go ahead. You have anything you want to say?
So let me explain this. So as the project is moving on, I started looking, we have to heat and cool this side, right? And for us to concrete this, it's going to be cheaper to do it now while the equipment's still there. We're going to save money. It also gives the jail the capacity, if there was a major event in the main jail, that they can move people in there, the security around the sides, and it's a solid surface. It's not necessarily outside. And I just think it benefits us to get this done now. Also on the agenda was the 2 additionals that were both for solar project. The first one, the 113,184, is a transfer I did in December. I did miss a step. I did not quietest that into that line item. But we did do that already. And the other is a transfer with the month listed that you have the paperwork in front of you that we've made this far savings-wise. We'll tell you that substantially, during the winter times it's lower, but we did a electric to gas conversion, and we are substantially saving money since the request of the council and the commissioners at one point was to look at buying natural gas in the open market. That has benefited us, and this has also benefited us as well.
Anybody have any questions for Steve?
I do.
Go ahead.
$605,000, so this is somewhat of an afterthought of the project?
No, it's not an afterthought of the project. We had looked at doing this, but we cut that out, okay, at the request not to do the other side. But as we moved forward and I started looking at this, I brought this to the commissioners and to the current people running the operation to ask them to get me a price. The first price came in was $674. Didn't feel that was acceptable. The next price came in at $605 once we cut a lot of cost out of there that we can handle in-house, and that it's currently done as part of this project. So by doing this as part of the project, we have a savings there. And as the cost escalates up, as the construction costs as we see now that's happening, we're going to save money doing it now versus later, and it benefits us now in the heating and air conditioning and some other instances. Everything underground, part of that contract, is also part of this. So the plumbing that's underground, the security stuff, it's all being put in at the same time as part of this project. If at some point they have to build this out, they can come in with the cells and be ready to go. We're not looking at a 6-month lead time to do the concrete and all the underground work.
And this wasn't part of the original budget for this
No,
project?
this was not part of the original budget.
So my next question is, council, do you have any ideas how we were going to pay for this?
General fund.
Rainy day fund?
General fund, cash.
That's where it's been advertised, right?
Yeah.
Which one? Do you know what we have available in our rainy day? I don't know if I'm ready to vote on this yet or not.
I agree with Steve on that.
I think we might need a little time. Is there anything pushing to get this done?
The project will be coming to an end. So the idea of this was to tie this in as part of this project. I mean, a portion of it. So I'm not grading everything out in case, say now that we're going to move forward with it, depending on where you want to fund it out of, that's fine.
You'd have a remobilization cost.
Yeah, I don't want
pretty
that. I
substantial,
understand that.
And it's coming to an end, so that you're trying to avoid having the extended costs of having to get contractors, subcontractors, and suppliers back on site to perform this work.
Yeah, I have no problems with the project, Steve.
I know that.
I'm just trying to take a few minutes to decide how we're going to pay for it.
I totally understand that.
That's all I have.
It's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead.
Anything on the transfers? Any questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
So Brad, we still need to do 1 and 3.
That was
I
all
thought
of
we did
them.
all of them.
Okay, thank you.
Next is a ISS 144 amendment. Chris, you want to come up here and give us words of wisdom?
We have an opening for a network administrator in our office, and this is just a request to be able to have some flexibility to hire above the minimum entry-level salary for that position. What I've done in the past, or requested in the past, I always try to put them appropriately where they're at, so I won't necessarily go to that maximum amount I requested. But I can tell you from the resumes we've been getting, I would be hard-pressed to hire any of them at the entry level.
Second.
Discussion.
I've got a question.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Is there anybody internally that you think might look at this versus, and the reason I ask is because I know there was a situation where someone internally eventually raised their hand, and it was quite a bit of a jump.
Yeah, no, we had 2 individuals that came and talked to us about it. They didn't have enough experience, and we talked to them about that.
Okay.
They're both good employees, but this is a senior level position that is going to be have significant responsibility about the network across the county.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Chris. The next is an additional for emergency management. It's got Jeff Hearn's name by it.
Yep, Shane, you come up. I'll just briefly state, this was before Shane, so just bear with him on this. Somebody else had come in before us and asked for these positions, and when they got the positions approved, they did not ask for the people that were coming on to be equipped with anything. So, for example, one of these people that we had pre-approved, let's say power outage goes up in the north and one of it's the airport. Airport's out, cell phone's down, everything. The person we have approved to go up there to help restore power and so forth, but yet they can't communicate because the person that came in before us to get the people approved did not ask for the equipment for those each individuals to get it. And that's where this is. Also, they've done some great jobs with grants, but FEMA, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, would have been able to pay for this. FEMA has changed their situation on how grants are outlaid. They're no longer willing to pay for radios and other things like that. They will pay for cameras to be on cars to read license plates, but they won't pay for a power outage where we need radios to communicate. So, Shane?
I'd make a motion to approve.
Shane, you got something quick to be able to say?
I appreciate the opportunity to come before you to try and assist us with helping with this grant shortfall is really what it is. And just as Jeff said, we have looked at 6 different grants to try and to find funding for this. And those grants were denied, saying that they will not allow us to use those grants for this type of equipment. We even reached out to the Homeland Security Grant Foundation, which is the license plates with a little cardinal on the back. We asked them for funding, and that was also denied. So unfortunately, when we come to this type of equipment, it's just not approved by FEMA anymore. It used to be. And I also, apologize for placing this burden, upon you when it should have come before when these positions were requested in the first place.
If I have any questions here. Okay, I have a couple. Number one, is this equipment for full-time people?
It is equipment for part-time people that also do serve in an on-call rotation schedule.
I'm not over-enthusiastic about that answer. I know you use a lot of part-time people. That's great, but
to your point, though, during the Carmel High School explosion, I called on the 5 limited employees that I have, and I need all employees to be able to have a radio to respond to any situation that may arise at any time. And so having people share equipment or not having people properly equipped to respond during those types of situations, it really puts us and ties our hands in what it is that we can do.
Your full-time employees didn't have the equipment they needed?
My employees, all of the employees that we had that responded that night, they did not have the equipment that they needed. So I
understand what you're saying, but keep in mind, in the perfect world, you'd have all the people that you could ever want and all the equipment. We can only afford the amount of emergency management that we can afford. So the idea you want all your part-time people to be fully equipped, well, that's great, but I'm not sure that is a reality.
Well, I can tell you that putting them out there and doing damage assessment and having them working with the public where there's potential for emergencies to occur or heart attacks where an AED is needed, those things I cannot jeopardize putting people out there in those situations without having the ability to push an emergency button or to call for help or to communicate with the sheriff's department or communicate with Sheridan or whomever it may be that they need to talk to in those situations. If we have a tornado that occurs next week, those part-time employees are going to be called out to respond to that situation along with the full-time employees.
Well, I understand that, but I thought the main focus of your agency was planning. You are not first responders.
No, under state law, we are first responders, and we are required to respond to a whole host of things, including fires,
So you see your role as a
military
first
unrest.
responder.
Yeah, it is, yes, sir. That is what is listed in the Indiana statute and in the county ordinance.
It's something that I learned because I had this conversation with them a couple months ago that I had no idea that's really what they did from people that had been in the previous position. And so he shared some things with me through the state statutes and so forth that outlines it. His car is set up just like one of your unmarked vehicles with all the lights, everything. He is a first responder.
Hey, tell me what you're going to respond to then. That if I mean, just give me one quick example. You see,
School shooting.
school shooting. You're a first. I mean, what? Basically, the police are going to be first responders. The fire are going to be first responders. When does it come to you?
Anything that really starts to exceed their resources, our job is to help coordinate and support those agencies that are on the scene to provide them with the resources that they don't have. The police and fire departments don't start the Red Cross. They don't have light towers. They don't have generators. They're not the ones that are coordinating these response efforts that exceed their capabilities. When you think about it, police really are thinking about things in seconds to minutes. And that's really most of what it is that they're engaged with. Fire, they're looking at things from minutes to hours. Emergency management's job is to think about beyond that of hours, days, weeks, months, and what it is that needs to happen.
Let me just say this. I was upset at the fact that someone had come up here before, got it approved of employees, but then not giving them the tools to do their job. And that frustrated me.
I understand what you're saying.
That frustrated me.
But these are part-time
I know.
employees.
I think you have to take into consideration.
But my thing is this, is why do we have those employees if we aren't going to equip them? Because they're not really doing their job.
They're volunteers. They are volunteers.
No, these are we are talking about employees, and these are part-time employees, but they are still required to respond and be a part of that local emergency planning committee, which is also an aspect of the hazmat piece. But I can tell you that, I am sorry that we can't rely on the federal government to continue to provide the equipment that they have in the past. If this would have happened 8 years ago, FEMA would have said, sure, we'll give you all the radios you asked for. But unfortunately, that's just not the day that we're living in because of the amount of limitation that they're putting on the funding. So that's really what we're asking for, is your help to cover the shortfall for what we're looking at.
I get what you're saying, and I'm getting educated here, but I mean, originally your type of department was a result of federal funding and no county funding, right? That's how the emergency management departments were started.
In 1941, yes, for the civil defense.
Was that long ago?
Yes.
Okay. So since then, how long has the county been funding, like, an emergency management department?
The county is only funding right now 3 out of the 4 full-time employees, half of the salary is paid for by FEMA. They are still continuing to pay for that. There are also still paying, in 2017, we managed $400,000 of grant dollars. That it did include the funding for the full-time employees. But that, again, what's being funded by FEMA is being limited. So to Jeff's point, unfortunately, they will fund license plate readers, but they're not going to fund radios.
Right. And I get what you're saying. I'm just trying to just piece this together here. And I'm actually, I support this resolution, just for the record. So I'm not hammering you or anything like that.
Oh, sure.
So you got this thing. You're being federally funded. So technically, a lot of what you're doing is federal. And as this, if that federal funding disappears, then you're going to come here and it's going to be, just like something like this. This might have been funded by the federal government maybe before. And you would have to come to the county for that.
Yes,
basically.
but I can tell you that over the past, ever since 2011, Hamilton County has received over $10 million from FEMA in federal funding for the entire county, not just for emergency management.
When was the last time you made a request from FEMA for radios and things of this type?
The last time that we made a request was I believe, 4 years ago, which was also denied at that time. We went ahead and we were trying to, we try and craft language as carefully as we can, but also as creatively as we can to be able to receive those kinds of things, and that was denied. I can tell you this is the first time in at least 15 years that emergency management has come before the council to ask for an appropriation.
I would like to just jump in here.
Let me jump in first, okay? Since I let Fred and Ken just go. It's okay.
Thank you for letting me go.
I'm going to be positive. The AEDs that you're buying, the
Yes,
defibrillators, are they identical to what the sheriff's using?
they are, and we are using the same quote
Okay.
and the same company
They're
that
giving
they
you the
have.
same pricing, et cetera?
Same pricing.
And you may not know this, Steve may know it, I'm just curious. Do we have one of those in here? Is there one in here? Whereabouts is it located?
one in the,
Uh-huh.
that are trained.
Okay, so if we need one tonight, it's handy.
Are you
Okay.
feeling bad, Rick?
Yeah, I'm starting to feel
Okay.
really good. Thank you, Shane. Steve.
Look, from a replacement perspective, how often do you anticipate, like the radios, when you're talking about that, what's the?
The equipment that we're asking for tonight is going to last us years.
Said 6 years?
No, it will last us years. It will go beyond 10 years.
Steve Swartz.
Thank you, Brad. Just looking through this, it looks like about $11,000 of this, a lot of it is safety vest, helmets, and stuff that you would actually use on site. And only 16,000, a little over 16,000 is actual radio equipment.
Yes, the largest amount of the request is unfortunately the radios.
Yeah, I
And that is
understand.
also bought under the communications quantity purchasing agreement that we have in place so that we're getting the lowest pricing that we can from Motorola.
Okay.
I want to, unless there's some, we haven't went over. How many full-time employees you got?
I have 4. One of those is administrative assistant.
Okay, and how many part-time?
Only 2.
And how many volunteers?
We have over 200 volunteers.
Okay, and this is for your part-time, not your volunteers?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Favor?
Yes.
Okay. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Much better under fire. You did really good.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks.
Moving forward, prosecutor has 2 144 amendments.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, discussion, anything you want to say about this, Lee?
I don't know if these are the ones that had to do with my letter. Okay. It's basically a straightforward matter. There are numerous requests, but they are all related to either some internal movements that are necessary by the retirement of 2 individuals and 1 individual moving from my office to be counsel to the sheriff's department.
Can I ask you the pertinent question?
Certainly.
Require new money?
No new money is necessary.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There you go, young man.
Have a wonderful evening.
What letter were you talking about?
Sheriff, 144 amendment.
Yeah, this is a request to fill an open position above minimum. It's somebody that would be coming in with experience to hire at the low.
You don't have them spotted yet, but in case you do,
Hey, Rick.
We have
It's on the
2 people
computer.
identified by the sheriff's mayor board. We're not sure which one is going to be hired at this point.
hey, counselors, we're talking about the sheriff's 144 amendment here. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I don't know.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, Fund 1053 Solid Waste District requesting $24,810. Amount available is $2,489,000. Oh, okay, this one and several you're gonna see coming up here is a result of the 2019 WIS study that we approved. It's just now being implemented, not the one that's underway now for 20, the one that was already done.
So can I make a motion
Yes,
to
you can.
combine?
Huh?
Can I make a motion to combine?
Second.
So I'll combine I, K, L, M, N, P.
Seconded.
Is that a
That's-
friendly second?
That is a friendly second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Amy.
Yep.
Okay, now we'll go to the next one, which is the clerk's.
Oh, did we vote on that?
Sorry?
We just voted to combine it.
Yeah, we just voted. We're
Oh,
down
I thought,
to
okay.
Q.
Now we'll vote to,
This one.
Oh, we
No,
have Jay.
no, we don't have to vote to
Brad's
combine.
right.
That was a.
Jay.
no,
Yeah.
she said she was combining,
My
the vote
motion
was
was
for.
Certain
to
ones.
combine.
Yeah.
You had the friendly amendment,
Okay.
or second.
Gotcha.
Okay, now we'll go to the clerk's record perpetuation fund.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, what do you want to spend $24,000 on?
This is a piece of equipment that's used in our microfilm department
I
that,
thought we threw microfilm out.
well, we still call it microfilm.
Okay.
We do need to call it records management, I think, because most of our files are now digital. But what this piece of equipment is, the rolls that we have on microfilm can be used and converted to digital, which makes it more accessible to not only the public, but the courts, anyone who uses these documents. This perpetuation fund, this is the only type of thing, this piece of equipment for records management, it's the only thing that can be used for. And it will actually expedite getting those rolls done. One of the things we're having trouble with is the new driver's license that everyone has to get with more information in regards to their divorce, their birth, all that stuff. Well, you can't use that piece of equipment to hurry up and speed up the microfilm part of it because you're stopping to do this. So if we have two of them, we can have one working all the time on that and one doing the research.
And it doesn't come out of the general fund, correct?
No, it's out of our perpetuation fund.
More questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
Okay, we're going to jump on down to O. I see O is the next one that hasn't been approved yet. And this is Fund 4508, 2018. HCRC, our lit revenue bond, Rick McKinney.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
And this, the dollar amount's going to change to what's available instead of what's on it, because it was thought that we'd have more available. So it will be $1,732,797. And this is for the Phase 2 from the Lowe's Way over to Range Line.
Or is it part of the flyway?
It's beyond
Phase
the
2,
flyover. Flyover.
Yeah, flyover.
Yeah.
Any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I think we jump on down to R, which is Fund 4921, Communications Fund Transfer. NR, who's NR?
Non-reverting.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
anybody know exactly what this is? We're just going to transfer funds?
So it states that staff did not know the needs of the radio shop, so it's become apparent that
Is this a sheriff's deal?
No.
911.
911.
Is Natasha here?
Oh, the new guy.
All right.
Doesn't look like Natasha, but
Jeff.
This is the new guy, so we need to like rake him over.
I'm the new guy from Monroe County.
hi, Jeff.
Good evening.
Do you get any idea what this is?
Actually, no, because what I thought I was coming in front of you for was not this particular transfer. The gentleman that would be dealing with this one is James, and he's currently out right now.
Okay.
I believe that based on what I'm catching up on right now, it's part of the maintenance.
All right, well,
You're in
let's
your
just
honeymoon
say don't let this 30,000 go in the wrong place, okay?
We're going to spend it well.
You're in your honeymoon period. I
Yeah,
said.
you get 6
Yeah,
months
I've
for
been
a
told
honeymoon.
that, next week, she's kicking me out of the nest, and I'm on my own.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
I did.
All right. We're at the end of our additional appropriations. We're going to close the additional appropriations part of the meeting. Sheriff, do you have anything that you want to?
No, I just made note that there's a 6-month honeymoon period, but other
6
than that, I don't
months.
have.
Yeah. And you're 3 months into the 6 months, so.
He just wants everybody to know that he's still got time.
But I feel like that's, he's been around the longest, so he gets 3 months, and then anybody that's brand new to the county gets 6. So you're done.
When's the hazing period begin for him?
Right after the honeymoon. Okay.
Is that your announcement?
Council Attorney, can you hold forth on the YAP contracts for us?
Hold off on it?
No, hold forth.
Yes.
Go forth
So,
and enlighten us.
As you guys know, every year we execute a memorandum of understanding with all the municipalities to contribute money to the Youth Assistance Program, YAP, and the process for approving those MOUs has become extremely unruly because, as you can imagine, to get the municipalities to pass it and then to get it passed here, and a lot of times it needs changes and all that. It's just, I mean, we were like more than halfway through the year and we hadn't even gotten close to getting them signed yet. And so the process definitely is broken. We end up not having one for 2018, which is not a good thing. We need to fix that. And I think there's sort of one or two ways to fix it. Judge Steve Nation has kind of taken this on in his semi-retirement as his project, and he has submitted, it didn't get in time for the agenda this month, but I think he's going to bring it next month, an MOU that is essentially self-executing year to year. It automatically renews unless written notice is given to cancel it. I know I've talked to you guys about that before, and there's been kind of some hesitation on doing it that way. If you don't want to do that, then I think the only other way to do it is to say, hey, if we don't have the MOUs to us by like budget time, then we're not going to issue the funding, because it's also complicated by your rule that all the MOUs have to come to you first. And so last year we got a lot of them last, and so the process is a little bit messed up. And so I just kind of wanted to, Judge Nation had contacted me, and I've been trying to kind of help him some with it. But I'm just kind of getting this on your radar that we're going to need to fix this system, because we just don't want to keep having multiple years where we're giving money, but we don't have an agreement in place that's not.
I did make the request to the auditor council agenda that they are on the agenda for next month.
Who did?
I did.
Who's on the agenda?
Nation and Trish Akers.
Okay, so is that going to meet with their time frame? I was under some kind of understanding that Fishers was not issuing money because they don't have an agreement. But next month is going to be okay?
I mean, that wouldn't
I
surprise
hadn't
me.
heard that.
That wouldn't surprise me, but I hadn't heard that. Okay. That was news to me, but that makes sense. I mean,
Sounds like the system's broke, and you and Steve Nation will bring us something together that we can.
I'm not opposed to the reoccurring contract as long as, and I spoke to Chris about, as long as there's no substantial difference. From year to year, there'll be pay increases, and from year to year, there's differences in healthcare costs. But no change in body counts. You can't add employees to the contract without coming.
Well, I don't think anybody should be surprised. I mean, we talked about this, how many times have we had a conversation over the course of the last 2 years that this was something that was coming around the bend and we needed to address? I know I addressed it to the group at least twice last year. So I think if the concern is we need to get Fisher's agreement signed in order for them to fund, then we should go ahead and do that. So that go back to council in April. Personally, that's my opinion.
So can I ask a question, Chris?
This is for 19.
Is this going to be like the boilerplate for all the cities?
yes, that's the thought, yeah. And the only thing that really was changed is if you go down to, the very bottom where it talks about termination, where that's the section really that was changed. Where
Number 9, joint board and disputes.
Under 11.
No, 11.
Is number 9 in existence today?
My understanding is it is. I'd have to compare it to the old one, but I looked through it. I thought the only real change was the termination clause, but I can.
Because I was just curious, under number 9, where it says the director of the youth assistance program, is that the one for the given city or for the overall county, like Tricia?
Yeah, that'd be Tricia. Yep.
Yes.
Well, Amy, maybe I'm not opposed to amending the agenda and moving on Fisher's particular contract this evening, if that's helpful. But I am wanting to correct the language or whatever they need to do so that.
So I think it would be important to know that this specific agreement is for 2019. I think what we're referring to from the standpoint of we need to think for 2020 now, right? How we want that to look. Regardless, we didn't have contracts in place for 2018. We need to have something in place. Fishers now needs it in order to fund or appropriate rather. So we're bound through 12/31 of 19, and we're already there anyways. We've already agreed to appropriate this. Does that make sense? So if you're concerned about the renewing each year, I don't have a problem with it personally.
Well, and I can confirm that paragraph 11 is all that was changed. I just looked at the old version. So, you know, you could either, to get Fishers what they needed, you could either approve this one and strike paragraph 11 and deal with it later, or you can approve the one they submitted. I mean, you know, whatever you want to do, but it's got to get fixed because 2018, we were like in September and we hadn't even had final agreements yet. I mean, it's painful.
Anybody have a suggestion? You know, I want to be helpful, but we're the funding body. Not our problem. You know, it's these people who are asking for the money need to get the paperwork right.
Well, not when we're the ones that are supposed to sign first, right? So
Right.
technically, we should have had this done. However you want to look at that, county body. I'm not saying us specifically, the council. We should have had this done and sent to them in September of 2018.
Doesn't it work, they send the paperwork to us?
Well, it would have come from youth assistance.
Right.
So we didn't have that. So here's where we are.
Youth assistance
problem.
sits
I
under
think
our
it's been
umbrella.
going-
So if it sits
It's
under
us,
our umbrella, it's
our-
us. We are trying to help fund them, and it's in our best interest to get this agreement done so Fishers can, and other municipalities can pay their fair share.
I agree, and I'm willing to do that tonight. What
I'm willing to
saying-
do it too.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, agencies and departments that want funding,
They need to make sure they're doing their due
they need to get their
diligence, yes.
paperwork in.
Without a doubt. But
And I think we've now realized that this will not happen
is
again,
this an
and so-
agency or a department of, it is department? I don't
Well,
think
it's not
it's.
classified, it's under judges.
That's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
it's not a
So
department.
it's, I hear where you're going, but maybe that's part of what we need to also discuss about for 2020 as far as how we are going to hold Tricia accountable for the things that she does, or youth assistance, and so that we can accommodate that need in our community. And maybe and I think that's part of a greater conversation. I'm not sure if that's, Amy, that's what you were kind of alluding to as
I
well.
think just in general, the biggest thing is we need to get these agreements in place. We know that they haven't been in place. Fishers needs it. I would ask that you would amend the agenda so that we can approve the document as it's stated. We do have a 60-day out clause, so we as a body could decide we didn't want to renew for the next year.
You're making a motion?
Yes.
I'll
second.
Okay. All in favor of amending the agenda to approve the Fishers YAP contract?
To add.
Add it to the agenda.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so
I'll move that we approve this one for Fishers. And do we want to say everybody else as well? Who's going to?
Well, if you approve this one for Fishers, I'm probably going to take this template and try to push it to all the others and tell them they need to.
You'll send them all to everybody?
I can do that.
That we'd approve the language to mimic.
Okay.
For all the
And I'll
other
se-
entities.
I'll
Okay,
second
but
that.
here's one thing I want to bring up about that. Don and Robin brought to me and Rick, we had lunch today, that we're moving up budget hearings a month this year. So we'll be having budget hearings in August. Don told me the other day, paperwork needs to be submitted to us for interlocal agreements by June. Isn't that
So they
right?
will need to submit
June
for
1st?
20 of these for
Dawn?
June.
June 1st when we need interlocal agreements, so.
Interesting.
I don't, I'm just passing that along to you, whatever you work out in the language,
Send it to them for 2019, or 2019 and 2020.
it needs
No,
to
you don't
be,
need to send 20, once, because it renews.
Oh, okay.
So
We're gonna
our,
If you do this language, you won't need.
so we will have plenty of time if we decide in June that there's a concern and we needed to modify. We can give them ample notice for 2020. We just need to have.
no,
this-
that is budget hearings for June, for 2020.
Right, but we have to give 60 days, based on this agreement, if we were going to get rid of it or modify to some degree, we have to go within 60 days of the termination of what, or at the beginning of the new year. So we would be in line from year to year unless we decide that we need to make changes and we give 60-day notice. So we'll have plenty of time based on our budget hearings in June, is what I'm saying.
Chris, you're saying again that this is pretty much
Yeah.
boilerplate, except for number 11,
Right, and
right?
it says amendments shall be in writing, so I mean, if there's any.
Well, the reason I'm just asking, because point 6 says that we were to have gotten an annual report from the director in January. So we didn't get one in January.
I got it in my packet. I don't know if it was January.
To be presented at the regular county council meeting no later than January.
We didn't have anybody stand up and present, but we got something, but we did.
We did get something. She didn't come and present, but we did get something.
I got
I can go back and, I save, I can go back and find it.
And that may be fine. I'm just saying it wasn't in accordance with this. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think, let's get this in place, so we can then hold people accountable.
Well, this is in
because-
place.
No, it's not. They expired.
He's saying.
Rick, I hear what you're saying.
I don't
but
disagree.
I think there's a idea that possibly they were in compliance, but it was not maybe distributed in the manner that you presented that you want. And so I think we ought, we can talk about this. We all want this. This is good for our community, youth assistance. We ought to move forward.
I think what Rick's saying is if number 11 is the only thing that changed, number 6 was in place for 2018.
Except that you don't have a contract.
It
So
was
you're-
no contract
You're
in
not
2018.
bound by anything. You're not bound by these terms because the contracts all expired in
Do
17.
you want the report? Because I can sure tell them they need to make sure they get the report.
Like,
So
I would
it sounds like they
say,
did.
let's have her come in April or May.
We already got a-
It's not, I'm
we
not talking
already
about
got
the
a work
entities as much as I'm talking about
session
just
in
for
April,
us.
okay.
For our segment.
But she could come in, yeah, she could come in and speak at the regular meeting. then.
Our part didn't expire, Amy. That's all I'm just saying.
Well, no, it didn't,
Right.
but if you're looking to hold anybody's feet to the fire.
I'm not
we
holding
didn't have
any
it.
others. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, we're good.
that's it.
I got just a question, and maybe I misunderstand what's going on. So we're getting separate interlocals at different times that
Or
we're.
not.
Because they submit money to the.
Or not at all.
Okay, so I think point made that it sounds like Chinese fire drill here all of a sudden.
No,
I don't,
no,
wait a minute, let me
Steve,
finish.
We did this, we talked about this, we've talked about this ongoing.
Okay, well, let me
For 12
finish.
months.
Okay, let me finish. I just don't understand why we don't have a cutoff date. All the paperwork's in place, and if you're not here with all your paperwork, then that particular funding does not get improved for that entity.
That's the other option.
And
that's
I
the
don't
other fix.
understand what part of business that doesn't comply with. Either you're here on the cutoff date, good, we're gonna help pay it, and if not, we're not paying it.
That's a fix. The only
That's
problem
pretty
is in
simple.
2018, we didn't
Why-
have an agreement and we paid it.
Why are we looking at all these contracts if they're here on this date?
I'm with you.
Bingo. Okay, I'm just asking the rest of the
Because
council.
then we would be in the position of not funding youth assistance.
Because
Because they
they,
did not have it in.
because they did not do their work.
That's right. But still, we're the funding agency. Do you want to be that picture?
Well, do you want to wait, 6 months for them to not do their job
no, no.
correctly?
Well, I'm-
Well, you're also treating them like a separate department. They are underneath, and that's why I brought up
They're underneath who?
the courts.
Judges.
The judges.
How's that?
That's where they arrive.
And is that judge still a judge? Okay, so are they under the
They're
judges?
under Felix now.
Felix is still Judge Felix.
So
Oh, you need to come up.
Yeah, that's not cool.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is either you got your act together by a cutoff date or you don't.
Okay, and if you don't, what?
Then you don't get funding.
I don't think that,
It's very complicated, Steve, because.
Oh, I
there's-
understand.
I think our funding is paying for the health benefits, and then the individual entities, is paying the salaries of their people. So,
So you can't do your paperwork 6 months ahead of time?
no, I'm not trying to say
No,
that.
I'm just
Yeah.
asking that question.
Honestly, I think it just, I hate to answer, but I'm gonna say she's not here, but it fell through the cracks. I'm gonna just get, I don't know. Ollie, you wanna say something?
I thought they were auto renewing anyways. That was the discussion that I brought forth to council back in April of last year. I think I had mentioned this. There was a concern. They thought it had come to the attention. They thought they were auto renewing. It was determined that they had not been auto renewing. And we have been sitting here now, wheels spinning for the last 11 months, waiting to get to this point. So that's it. I reviewed, I could attest in August, I reviewed the contracts from previous in comparison, had conversations with Chris. And so I can't attest to why it's now, but it's been an ongoing situation. So we'd like to solve it. And we have the opportunity to do so.
Ollie,
It's
you'd
already
be able to
funded.
carry that message back to those?
Yeah, what I was going to say is, I'm the Youth Assistance Program firemen. Judge Nation sent this to me yesterday afternoon. That's how I get involved in these things. But I am more than happy to get with Judge Felix, Judge Casati, and retired Judge Nation, and Tricia Akers, and see if we can sort this out so that the paperwork gets to you in a timely manner. I'm happy to do that.
And I think that's the way it should be, Ollie. And right now, again, it's like a Chinese fire drill. I am all about youth assistance, but we need to bring it up to a professional level so we can look at it, one meeting, and move on.
That's fine with me, Ollie. Work that through, Mr. Jeter. I'm fine with auto-renewing as long as there's not substantial differences. You don't get to add, you don't get to give them a raise unless it comes from us, or unless it comes from them. It's your money, you can give them a raise, but not substantially different.
Okay, I understand.
You with me?
Yep.
On the auto-renewing.
And
Okay.
Got it.
for all entities, just to make sure. that these-
We will sort it out.
Anybody else on this issue? Thank you.
we need a second.
I had second,
Did you
yep.
Yeah, he drafted, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Madam Auditor, what do you have for us this evening?
I pass.
What, you pass?
Pass.
Wow. You don't want to join in the fun? Okay. We're adjourned.